Hello, welcome back to OneTake DeckTech. My name is Tucker of Team Bloodrush Fellows here in Colorado Springs, and I'm here today with a double feature on Lifegain Jarl. I am the creator of the FaB Life mobile app, so please check that out if you haven't, and if you do use it, thank you so much for using it. I'm a longtime Oldhim player. He was my guy, so I have a lot of years and reps on Elemental Guardian in particular. I did win Battle Hardened Dallas about a year ago in Limited, and most recently in this skirmish season that just wrapped up, I actually got 2 of the 7 wins on Oldhim, though admittedly the skirmishes were pretty casual, but I had a lot of fun playing CYB Oldhim, and that helped inspire this Jarl exploration. Lastly, I hosted a 1K recently here in my hometown because I was bummed that there was no competitive season until February, and I wanted to compete with Jarl. So these deck lists are the culmination of what I achieved in about 1 month of prepping for this 1K. Skipping forward to the results, I ended up going 5-0 in Swiss, and then unfortunately losing in top 8 to a Victor. I'm pretty proud with the results. I think this deck can beat basically anything not named Enigma, but let's dive in and see how that happens. So first of all, let's talk about the build. Why Lifegain Jarl? What are the benefits? What are the playstyles? Why are we going this route rather than another build for Jarl? To put everything into context for Guardians, you have 2 boogeymen right now in the meta. There is Enigma and there is Nu. You cannot punt both the matchups. You have to pick one and try and beat it. So I said, Enigma, it's not going to happen. She's just too strong. I don't have the tools to be able to clear her ward state consistently and every turn. So I'm going to beat Nu. And this was where I ended up on a CYB list where that is like the core tenet is let's beat Nu and everything not named Enigma. Enigma, if we get her, sad, let's go get milkshakes, but everything else I want to beat. So the general idea here is that I'm going to be weak early and go block and block and block and decompose a little and heal. And I'm going to be sort of on the back foot for a while here, just sort of setting up and thinning my deck, thinning your deck, and sending hammer, 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 hammer. The occasional felling for 8, the occasional Psycho 1, Oakenold, some disruption, but it's mostly just like blocking a lot and surviving until your deck is thin. Then, when you have, 20-ish cards left in deck, it's going to be nothing but like 2 Fellings, 3 Oakenolds, 1 or 2 double fuses, 3 Sotomaros to get the Okens back in, and you just start wailing on your opponent. So you have this slower beginning, and then as the game goes on, your opponent runs out of strength, and you have nothing but strength left, and you just pound them into the dirt. So we're talking games where I've been down, 10, 20 cards in deck, like double digits life, and still easily able to come back and secure the game because they run out of steam and I have nothing but steam left. So I really like that playstyle. I think it's very fun. It's very grindy, which is my personal playstyle. It leads to a lot of little micro decisions that can bite you in the butt if you don't really think through all of your little decisions. Again, I really like agency-fueled, blocking-oriented control decks, so that's where we're at here. Cutting forward, little spoilers. This is not what I played in the 1K. We actually switched to a second build. This is the double feature where I'm running Sigil of Solace and Arcane Polarity. So we will get to a deck tag for this build as well, but first let's look into CYB because this is where I was for the majority of my testing. So on the CYB build, let's first look at the hero and equipment. Obviously, Jarl's hero ability, pretty okay. Whenever you play an ice card, if they have an open equipment spot, you can give them a Frostbite. I've played games where I don't trigger it a single time and you just have a really strong card pool as your hero ability. There are games where it definitely comes up, especially people who get greedy and block a lot with equipment. If you send like an early CNC and they just go, oh crap, Crown of Providence, congrats, you have a hero ability, but often it's not that easy. It's mostly just a good card pool. Pretty standard lineup here. There's not a whole lot of interest in the head, chest, and arms slot. Crown of Providence, I think, is just generically very good. It's hand fixing, it's blocking, it's getting you away from CNC. And notice that because we have 2 Fate and 3 Sync and 3 Carapace and some not blocking cards, CNC can actually be pretty brutal. So Crown of Providence, I think, is extra good as CNC insurance. Tunic, of course, is a no-brainer, especially with Sledge as a 1-card 6. With CYB, either playing 2 CYBs off of a blue or playing like CNC Pop Tunic CYB or Plow Under Pop Tunic CYB, anything like that is really important. So Tunic is especially valuable here. I do run Gauntlets of the Boreal Domain, but you'll notice that there is no Mangle in this deck list. So we are effectively ignoring this text here. It is yet another Temper 2 Guardian Arms. It's nothing special. The 2 main reasons to run this over the existing options are that it is Earth Ice typed. So if you block with this early, you can decompose the Earth card. You could block with the Ice card and the all-in Ice cap. But mainly it's here just because sometimes you want a pitch outlet. Sometimes you want to keep Channel Lake Frigid for an extra turn. Or Hand Filter because your hand does nothing and you want to draw faster into your deck. Things like that where sometimes just paying 2 for nothing is actually kind of valuable. So these gauntlets definitely aren't anything fancy. I don't love them. I don't think honestly, I don't feel like a legendary to me at all. But I think there is merit to running these over the other gauntlets. I'm on Well Grounded as my boots. I think essentially you have 2 choices for good boots, and they are both the Earth options. So you either have Well Grounded or you have Root Bound, whatever they're called, the Blade Break one that makes an embodiment if you block with an aura. My thought process between the boots is that Well Grounded is better for the long, slow, grindy matches, and the Blade Break one is better for the faster matches where you need an early block. Because if you look here, with my equipment lineup, I don't want to block with Tunic, of course. I cannot block with Well Grounded early. And I don't want to block with Providence just for the block value. So that needs to line up at certain timing. So really the only blocking equipment I have is my arm slot. So if my opponent is sending Snatch into 4-1 hit draw into 4-1 hit something else early and consistently, it can be really tough to block. So having an extra block 1 in the boots from turn 1 is a big deal. The reason I chose Well Grounded instead, obviously this is a very slow, grindy deck where I will decompose over time. Then it is very convenient, and this is way more value in the late game once it's online. So you're basically taking a gamble in your foot choice to either do I need to block early or can I afford to block late. If you can block late, then you block better in the late. So that's the main thought process here behind the legs. Let's talk about Sledge and weapons in Jarl. So Sledge is very simple. Came out in the 3rd set in the game. It is a 4 for 6. That's it. Occasionally, you'll see either Swing Big or Civic Steps or something, and you'll get a Quicken token, and you'll have a big old Grinch smile as you realize that this is not a once per turn action, and so you can pay 8 to swing 6 and 6 with just your weapon. It's super fun. It almost never comes up. It's just a niche little thing that's cool to see sometimes. This is mainly here because the other options are not great. Summit, his signature weapon, I'm sorry, I really wanted it to be awesome. It's just not. 6 is just such a steep cost curve. Let's talk about the cost. 4 versus 6. Sledge of Anvilheim, let's say it's turn 2 and I draw, I don't know, a random blue that I don't want, and Oakenold. How do I get rid of Oakenold while keeping it in my deck? Well, you can sink, you can Fate and opt it if you get lucky, you can maybe put it in your arsenal and plow, or send it with felling. These aren't great. Or you can just pitch a blue and a red and send 6. Sledge is actually fantastic at pitching reds back into your deck. This is strength point number 1 of this weapon. It is also very convenient with Tunic. As I said, you can pitch a blue, pop Tunic, send 6 on 1 card. This is especially important with Tear Asunder. There's a lot of debate about this card because it doesn't really fit with the other weapon choices. I think this card and Sledge is so powerful that it is crucial. Jarl did not come out as strong as Oldhim. He doesn't have as many tools as Oldhim. We pretty much just have Oaken and Felling. And that's the deck. From there, we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for more value. Even CNC and Plow Under are just okay. They're not amazing. So what do you do when you don't have Oaken and Felling? Well, the next best aggression and control in your deck is Tear Asunder for 7 Dominate. On hit, give me half your hand. It's very, very strong. So I do think Sledge is very important because of Tear Asunder as well. I do think there's merit in the one-hand weapons as well. I do Sideboard Titan's Fist. I think there's a build you can make that'll run the Earth Hammer if you have a good blue Earth. We'll talk about blue Earth count a little bit later. But overall, I think Sledge is just your best bet for a weapon. There's a lot of reasons why Sledge is good. There's a lot of reasons why Summit is bad. I don't think Summit is so bad that it's unplayable. I'm not saying that. I do think you can have success with Summit. I just think that the 6 cost is very awkward and often not worth it, not optimal. Puts you into weird play patterns where if you have to keep that extra blue to swing it, even once or twice, that's 2 plus another 3 plus another 3 that you didn't block with to hold these cards, and you're really quickly losing value just to say, well, it's on hit Frostbite. If you have an open equipment slot, which sometimes doesn't even happen. So even with Stalagmite is great value. I think Sledge by itself is truly just the best choice here for math, for convenience, for Tear Asunder, for all of the above. So this is my equipment loadout, and the other build will be pretty much the same way here. So let's dive into the actual main deck. This is my default 60. So there's some packages built in here. First of all, obviously, CYB. We need all 6 CYB. The whole point of this deck is to use CYB as a sponge to, as the opponent's here and I'm here, I'm going to be going down while I lower them down, and then I start coming back up, and then lower them down, come back up, and lower them down, and come back up, and lower them down. And suddenly, we're here, and I'm way up here saying, oh, it just gives you the sponge to survive, to have a powerful late game, to then use life as a resource more conveniently, and play out these cards in your deck once your deck is thinned. Once you have just Felling and Oaken and Terrace Under and Sodomar, and like nothing bad left in your deck. The card can definitely be awkward. Sometimes you just block with it. So otherwise, these would be cards in your hand that you would just throw down to block. Instead, you can't because they don't block. So you just take damage, you play it back out, you heal the damage right back. They can be awkward. They can dictate how your hand plays out. But overall, 6 CYBs, not counting blue, gives you a total of 30 extra healing, and that is humongous, especially into Rune Blades. We'll talk about specific matchups, but at a nutshell, this is primarily a tool against Rune Blades, and new. Then, next biggest packages, we have the attacks. What are the good attacks that we can run in Jarl? We need good damage, we need efficiency, and we need disruption. Obviously, Oakenold, the absolute king. It's got my boy on there. This card's amazing. This card's goated. And when you run decks with ratios of like 19 ice and 20 earth and 4 double fuses, this comes up cycle 1 a lot. A lot. Not always, but I'd say 1 to 2 of your 3 are playable cycle 1. And your goal is just to play out 1 cycle 1. That's doable. That's so doable. We'll talk about why in a little bit when we get to the lose, specifically so tomorrow. But staying on the attacks package, what are the efficient attacks with disruption? Oakenold and Felling are your bread and butter. These cards are amazing. The math is nuts. They are so good. I can't imagine never not running these. I do have a buddy who did not run Felling in the 1K, also top 8'd. No earth cards, essentially. No earth package because he could not afford Felling and Plow. So it was more budget list, and it still works fine. So I don't think these cards are needed. But in my personal opinion, if you have them, if you can afford them, I think Felling is truly just too good to pass up. The card is amazing. Then continuing on attack package, we have CNC and Plow. You'll notice that these are at 2 each. They, in my opinion, are significantly less impactful than Felling and Oaken. They come up sometimes. I've certainly had games where I play Plow for 2, send their arsenal to the bottom, and they say, man, if you didn't do that, I had you dead right there. Or play CNC, and they go, oh, that's the exact right... Like, it definitely does happen. Just not often. Not often enough that I felt like these were needed at 3. So why Plow versus CNC? They're pretty similar. CNC is really good into like Riptide and all the decks with a ton of D-reacts. Sometimes you just really need like a CNC into a matchup, so I don't want to not have it. Plow Under, I think, generally is better, though, because it's a yellow that can pitch into CNC, or a yellow that I can pop Tunic and play Felling. That certainly does come up. So it's a similar role filler, but it's also an earth that I can decompose. It's another thing to let me decompose early to get Felling online faster. So overall, the cards are pretty similar. I'd say they're like pretty mid. They're not bad by any means. They're just not as amazing as they read on paper, at least for this style of build. And then lastly, we have Fate, Sync, and of course Carapace to help decompose. So you'll notice that not counting blues, this is our deck. We have CYB and some defensives, and we have disruptive attacks, and that's the deck. That's like our big plays. Block a lot, disrupt and attack a lot, and that's it. Otherwise, we're going block 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So as I mentioned for CYB, before moving on, a lot of times you'll do 2 costs, pop a Tunic, and do another 2 costs, like another CYB or a CNC or something. But the cost curve that also comes up a lot, in my opinion, especially on 36 blues, which is about the sweet spot, in my opinion, is you pitch 2 blues to play Sledge, and you have 2 floating, and then you CYB. It works out nicely. Again, you cannot do this with Summit. This is part of why 4 costs is just significantly more flexible and better overall. There are a lot more plays, a lot more options that you have for the 4 cost hammer. So this is our red and yellow lineup. Let's look at the blues. Some all-star blues here. Of course, we have Channel Lake Frigid, Channel Eisen, Crumble, and Frozen. I don't think they're ever leaving the deck. And Imposing. These are all core to the deck. Same as Pulse. I can't imagine playing Jarl without these. CLF slows people down in a way that nothing else in the game does. It is invaluable. It's a blue ice block 3. What's not to love? Channel Mount Eisen, I do think is decent. It is a blue ice block 3, so I already love it. I don't care what the text says. I already love it. But then the text is sometimes good. If you've played against or as Florian, you know the card Germinate. It's one of those cards that, 5 games in a row, it won't come up, and then one game, it'll just win you the game on the spot. It's just, it can be amazing. Chenemount Eisen, to me, feels similar to Germinate, where, man, if you play Guardian, I'm sure you've had that moment where the opponent's at 1 life, and you're going, please just die. There's 5 minutes left on the clock, like, you don't have much left, hammer, 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 and they're going, well, I'm not going to concede, block, 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 and you just really need to close out the game, and you can't because you're Guardian and you struggle to. This card is the answer to that. This says you got them down to like 1, 2, or 3. Let's chip that damage. There are ways to play around it. So Zen, or any of the Mystic Heroes really with their instant hero abilities, can pitch into something on their turn after you give them the Frostbite before it becomes their turn, and they will not take the damage. But a lot of heroes don't have an answer to this, and it's just a nice way to close out the game. So it won't always come up, but I do think it goes into the list just as a blue ice block 3 that can be this role filler that you really, really desperately need sometimes to close the game. Of course, Crumble is amazing. Playing one out early to get a -1 on there for when you naturally draw into Frozen is huge, but you want to always preserve like 1 in deck at least just for the late game. Fruits of the Forest is a crucial card in this deck. I'm here playing CYB. I'm getting lower life than my opponent quickly. Let's say I'm at like 5 life, and my opponent's at 20, and I go, all right, haha, CYB, yeah, I'm going to heal up to like 12, and they play Poison the Well, and I look like an idiot and just die on the spot. Or I say, haha, I'm going to CYB and heal back up to like 12, and they play Poison, and I say, in response, or let Poison resolve first, so the effect is now active, then in response, Fruits of the Forest. I lose 2 life, and then gain the like 7 that I was going to gain. This saves your life. If the opponent is on Poison the Well and you are on Count Your Blessings, Fruits of the Forest is invaluable. This is your answer to not just getting hard countered and losing. So let's go back to that play pattern where I said you pitch 2 blues for Sledge into CYB. Let's say my hand is like Frozen and Fruits and a CYB. Normally, you would pitch Frozen and Fruits, play Sledge, wait for them to block, wait for them to like to either take some damage or give you some cards, and then you cheeky CYB. Instead, what you do here is you pitch the Frozen to play CYB, and you stare them into the windows of their soul and see for that little eye twitch and see if they had Poison the Well. And if they don't respond, the CYB resolves, then you pay 4 for the Sledge. Or you start with CYB and they say, aha, I have Poison. You go, cool, respond with Fruits, and you don't swing Sledge at all. There are ways to play around Poison, and that is what Fruits of the Forest is in here for. All that said, I still think this card is amazing. Even without CYB, this card is nuts. Obviously, Autumn's Touch blocks 3, and blocking 3 is sometimes better. Other than that, which is not always, this card is 2/3 of our red sigil, while also being an Autumn's Touch, and an Earth that I can instantly get into the graveyard when I need to awkwardly decompose, which does come up. It's such an interesting role filler with so many different ways to get value. Yes, it blocks 1 less than Autumn's, but I don't care. This card is nuts. The fact that I can use it as a blue, 5, Earth, whatever I need to, and then also heal 2, 4, 6 across a game, it's crazy. I've played games against decks like Rhinar, who say, well, if you didn't have that extra healing, man. And then, especially against spoilers, when we switch to Sigil and Arcane Polarity, where Sigil is the only one on the main board, and so our healing is cut from 30 by default to 9 by default, this extra 6 puts us back up to 15 by default, and that is huge. This single-handedly made the difference in games. So overall, Fruits of the Forest, absolutely invaluable blue. I swear by it, this card's amazing. Hypothermia is a tool to slow down decks like Aurora, decks that do not have lots of natural go again ninja style, but are getting go again a lot. Runeblade style. I don't think it's necessary in an aggressive deck. So if your deck has Icequake and Pummel and Frostfang, and you're just trying to like not let the opponent play the game, this card's not needed. So if you see one of those decks and it doesn't have Hypothermia, I think it's because their answer is to one-hit disrupt more, whereas my answer is to block more, and then 1 card play this to slow them down, give me room to then have like 2 cards in hand and play Felling. I'm sorry, my cat is really struggling to take my attention while I record this. Imposing Visage is an invaluable card in this deck as well, because this searches your deck for an aura card specifically called Crumble to Eternity. It can search other auras, it can come up, it can be really cheeky. Mainly this is a way to get Crumble. I almost always choose first with Jarl, because I want Tunic, I want Arsenal. This deck is not going to get momentum, especially early. I want Arsenal a D-React, I want to play a CYB, I want to play Imposing on turn 0 and put a -1 and have an Earth Engrave and have the Dominate and all of that on turn 0 where you don't get to filter. So Imposing is really, really good because certain matchups, let's say New, where you need to pop the helmet, Kano, where you need to pop the boots, there are certain matchups where you need to crumble and then Frozen as fast as possible if you want your chance to win. You need to pop their super, super crucial equipment. Even against Zen, popping their Kasaya is very important. So Imposing is in here to search Crumble as fast as possible, ideally as another great turn 0 play. Now you have 6 copies of Crumble on your turn 0. That's huge. Pulse, of course, is double fuse. It's amazing. It also can be great in Arsenal. And when played, this is like Blizzard, where when you play on your opponent's turn, you're still playing an ice card. So whenever you play an ice card, you create that Frostbite in the middle of their turn, on top of blocking like a million due to its effect. This card's amazing. I love it. It's got a special place in my heart. So tomorrow, this card is amazing, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. This says, put target Earth or Elemental action card with cost 2 or greater from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck. It goes straight to banish, and then sometimes it lets you draw. This says, take Oakenold that you just played and put it right back into your deck. So again, the nature of this deck is to block a lot and heal a lot and thin your deck down to where you have like 20 to 30 cards in deck, and you're going to go Oaken. Not necessarily 6 back-to-back turns, but in that sense of like Oaken, Felling, Terrace Under Hammer, Oaken, Terrace Under, Oak. And so the way you're doing that is you play Oaken, and you fuse it with like the 1 double fuse card that you meticulously kept in your deck. Maybe you block with 2 crumbles and a pulse, and you have 1 crumble left, that sort of thing. You always want to keep 1 in deck, and you play Oaken. Then you hold that double fuse in hand, and you have So Tomorrow, either in hand or in Arsenal. Then the next turn, you play So Tomorrow, pitching that double fuse you just used. You'll have 2 floating, and that doesn't matter so much, but you're paying with this double fuse to play So Tomorrow, to put Oakenold that you just played back on bottom of your deck. Now when your turn ends and you take that pitch card and put it on the bottom of your deck, you've done it. You stacked Oaken. You've stacked another Oaken. So you have these 3 Oakens here and these 3 Oakens here in your deck. Your goal, your main goal with this deck, is to survive to late game, have your opponent like panting for breath as they run out of threat, and then hit them with 6 Oakenolds. This is also why I mentioned earlier that I like to play 1 or 2 Oakens cycle 1, because you will see these and they're yet another card in your hand where you go, I can't play it yet, I need to pitch it, I need to keep it in deck, I can't block with it, I can't really put it in Arsenal yet, like I need to just, this has to be my pitch card. So if you play 1 Oakenold early by just getting a little lucky and like drawing into the natural fuse, I didn't have to take 1 million damage to play it, you know, that sort of thing, and you play out an Oakenold and that's in your graveyard, then when you draw one of those So Tomorrows and your opponent conveniently left you with extra cards in your hand, you can just play it and put Oaken back in your deck. And that's what you're trying to do with this deck. You're trying to play Oaken and sew it back, and play Oaken and sew it back, and play. So having that 1 in your graveyard that you played early to then put back earlier gets this whole game plan online faster and more consistently. And that is amazing. We love to see that. So Tomorrow is absolutely crucial to the entire playstyle of this deck. I love this card. It's amazing. It even goes to banish when you play it. No other, just banish it. Played from hand, played from Arsenal, doesn't matter. So there will be occasionally times where you play out So Tomorrow, you put Oaken, or very occasionally Felling, on the bottom of your deck. This goes to banish, and you now have 1 Earth and banish. Then you draw Felling, and you decompose 3 Earth cards, and you have 4. So your first decompose, it is online. Doesn't come up often. I think it's more of a thing for Florian than for Jarl, but it is important to know about that play pattern, where So Tomorrow going straight to banish can set you up for your first decompose to be very powerful. It is another tool like Carapace, just there to kind of get your Fellings and Plow Unders online sooner. But primarily, So Tomorrow is to recur Oakenold, and that is super crucial. We've already talked about Terra Sunder. I think with Sledge, this being for 7 Dominate is crazy. And when we talk about it going Titan's Fist into a few aggro matchups, they typically don't block very tall, so even 5 Dominate can still be huge. You're either getting their armor or half their hand. Terra Sunder, I think, is... it's non-negotiable in this deck. People have been on the fence about it. I think it is absolutely crucial to run because it is, again, like you don't have that much disruption. You don't have that much power. This is an important part of it. Excuse me. Next up, Warmongers is a tool against Viserai. I know it hits Azalea too. I don't really care about Azalea. With this deck, I don't respect Azalea at all. Sorry, Azalea players. This is to stop Viserai. Viserai is a freaking menace, and we need this card to stop him. It also is a blue block 3, so like whatever. And lastly, Winter's Bite is a great, great ice card. Man, this almost feels like a Majestic in Jarl. Elemental cards are interesting because every elemental hero uses some of them better and some of them worse. For example, Exposed to Elements I think is significantly better in Oldhim than it is in Jarl because of Oldhim's hero ability. But this card is better in Jarl than it has been in any other ice hero. Man, this card is absolutely crazy. Sometimes I'll play it like Hypothermia, where I give you 3 of my 4 cards in hand. I'll hold 1 and I'll just play it and pass. This may give a Frostbite and stop go again. This may give a Frostbite and rip a card from their hand. So you are taxing their hand now and then taxing it again next turn off of just 1 blue ice. It's crazy strong. The value from this one card is nuts. So I swear by this card. It also, notably, when I was working with Jarl early, I kept saying, man, I just don't have a hero ability. I just don't, even when you like strip the armor, I just don't have a hero ability. Because let's look at the ice cards. CLF doesn't come out very often, especially not early. CMI is like a Lake closer. I'm not playing out Crumble that often. Frozen doesn't get played out in half the matches at all because it's so expensive. Hypothermia is only tech for a few decks. Pulse is like cute late game. So this is really like the only ice that you just want to like throw out there. So whenever you feel like you don't use your hero ability much, Winter's Bite Blue is the card I would recommend to add back in for that. This makes you feel like a complete package where I'm giving you Frostbites and slowing you down. It's amazing as a 1-card play. It's amazing as a multiple card play. Man, if you go like Winter's Bite, give them a Frostbite, strip a card from their hand, Felling, 8, strip a 2nd card. Like, what are they supposed to do? That's amazing value. It's so good. And this is where he starts to come together as this like Earth Ice hero where you play an Ice on attack, you play an Ice on attack, then you play an Earth card with Disruption, and you are disrupting the hell out of them. You're presenting good damage. You're getting a full turn cycle. You look at your hand. You go, cool. 6, heal 8. Okay, next turn. Oaken, Felling, Oaken, and you start really like snowballing towards the end there. Overall, this is the default 60. I think I've explained everything pretty adequately. Again, feel free to ask questions in the comments. I'm always happy to read and answer them however I can help. Looking at the sideboard now. We have Erase Face. I think this card is really, really strong right now. I don't think it's ever been better right now, actually, because if I was to personally say what the top 5 decks are, in my mind right now, it is Aurora, Dio, Viserai, New, and Enigma. As we said at the top of all of this, Guardians have to have an answer to either Enigma or New. I'm trying to have an answer to New. But Viserai, Dio, and Aurora are very good right now, and they can be problematic, especially Viserai. All 3 of them hate Erase Face. It hits them very hard and very well. So, Aurora, Viserai, Dio, this card comes in, it's made for them, it's just tech to help, because I don't think CNC or Plow are consistent enough. Again, sometimes it is the exact right thing to stop them in their tracks, but sometimes it's not. Erase Face usually is. They usually have to block with 2 cards or their turn is just shut down significantly. Moving on, Oasis and AB3 is just hedge into Wizards. This deck, probably not great into Wizard. I truly did not really test it. We don't have that many Wizards around my locals, but I just wanted to not completely punt the matchup. I do think that with all the healing, I think Kano is the only one that can go tall enough with Arcane to truly just blow you up. So the Oasis is kind of hedging into Kano, whereas AB3 is hedging into Wizard in general. Moving on, Staunch Response was actually the one card that wasn't in this list originally, and then I swapped it over because I lost to Victor in my 1K. I do think that Victor is a tougher matchup than I had respected, and so I think Staunch Response in the sideboard is a good answer to Victor, or if you have any like Warrior players on Dawnblade or Decimator Axe or anything like that, I think having just some extra defensives is good in here. This deck is already super defensive, but man, if a new like plays, you know, a Surgical Extraction with a cheeky extra card in hand, and you say no blocks, and then you block 7 or 10 of it, and then their grin really quickly fades away. Man, that's a drug right there. I love seeing that grin fade away. Moving on, we have Blizzard. Very good into anything that goes wide. Pretty self-explanatory. Like I said with Pulse, you do trigger your hero ability when you play it on your opponent's turn. This is huge. So you're basically playing a blue to say you better have a blue, otherwise your turn is over. And lastly, Exposed seems to be like a common one of sideboard card. I do not think it's necessary to make the deck work, but I do think it's convenient. So if you're looking for maybe like one more blue to sideboard or mainboard, I think this is a good one of. Often pops Tunic, but you can put a -1 and then pop other things. It just generally helps get your hero ability online. I just mainly didn't love it because it's another blue instant on top of these 3 blue instants and these 6 not blue instants, and a like fair bit of 2 blocks. It ended up just being a little awkward. Overall, CYB Jarl. This is, after like 3 weeks of testing, lots of iterating and moving things around, this is CYB Jarl. You have disruptive attacks, you have lots of blocking, you have elemental blues, you have no blue attack action cards except for these 5 that obviously come out against new. So into new, for example, you're cutting these to put in these. And that's pretty much the deck. You're blocking a lot, you're playing really strong late game. So, why does CYB not work? Why did I swap? Why is there a whole second deck in this DeckTech? CYB is a great tool. Into Viserai, who's going to do like 30 damage and put me at like 4 life on turn 2, where I cannot do anything about this. I gave you my whole hand, I had all reds, whatever it is. Like, I'm going to get nuked from orbit by Viserai and by combo Aurora. This is a tool to let me heal back up and then play the game, and then once I'm actually getting to play the game, I can win. This like 30 life bubble is huge for that. And I was thinking that would be the same answer for new. New like pushes damage, fatigues me a lot. What if I just say no blocks? And so she plays Scar, she plays looking for a scratch, she plays E-Strike. I say no one hit, no block, take it all, and I have CYB to like offset that life gain. I save all of my D-reacts, all of my 3 blocks for their actual on hits that I care about, and we grind it out. I get to late game. I'm sure they banish some of my Okins and stuff, but it's cool, and we're here and we got a late game. That was my thought process and why I started with CYB as the answer to new. And I could not have been more wrong. Which is funny because the first thing we tested with this was new and it went really well. Then I did a lot of other testing, was really happy with the deck, and ended like a week before my 1K. I'm like, all right, the deck is locked. Like, there was the last armory before the tournament. I'm feeling really good, and it's, you know, I'm undefeated in the armory, and I go to the finals, and I sit across from my teammate Peter on new, and we're like, all right, you know, this is it. And he destroyed me. I'm talking like playing with his food, like throwing potatoes on the wall. He destroyed me. It was miserable. I think it was like 43-0 at the end. Man, it was embarrassing. Because CYB is terrible into new. Who would have thought? Probably everyone else before me is what it is. Why is it bad? She has banishing. She's going to pass over and sacred art. Normally, those cards hit like the big blue 8s, like the Cranial Crushes or Macho Grandes or whatever, and they're like, haha, I'll play them back at you. Well, I said, I'm not going to give you those. Here, we can look at the new board. This is slightly messed up, but essentially I would take out Autumns and Fruits, put in these, and say, you don't have anything to work with. The best thing that I'm giving you is either Winter's Bite or like Frozen to Death to give me a Frostbite. That's it. Like, I'm going to take out Pulse, too. I'm not going to let you block my Oaken with Pulse. You can't tear us under it. So they don't have anything to banish. All they can banish is my CYB, and they are happy to banish my CYB. So often, not always, but often, you'll play 1 or 2 CYBs, and they'll banish one. You're like, okay, great. Let's say I played out 2, and they banish 1. I'm losing out on 4 value. Then I'll play like 1 more, and they'll banish 2 more with the Sacred Art. And so suddenly I just have like 3 CYBs that are going to heal for like 2 or 3 as a 2, and it's like, it's so bad. You're losing a lot of value, you're losing a lot of life, you're losing a lot of ability to block. It's just really bad. They get to toss you around and play with you. So CYB, not the answer to new, absolutely not. So after that armory, Peter took it down. It was awesome. We talked about it after, and I said, what is the answer? And he said, well, it's not CYB. So I said, what if I made this same deck, but without CYB? And we come here to Sigil and Polarity. So you'll notice a few differences, but largely the same build. So we're going to go from the top here. This is deck build number 2. This is Sigil of Solace and Arcane Polarity Lifegain Jarl. Same deal where we're trying to block out a lot and be this late game powerhouse. Same deal where into, excuse me, Rune Blades, I want to heal a lot and then get to play the game after, and then actually win after I play the game. Into, you know, Zen and Dash.io and other aggro decks that aren't going to nuke me so much in 1 turn as much as like a lot over time. That's also very efficient. I'm still trying to play this mid-range, block a lot, heal a lot, send back disruption when I can. The main difference is that we're not on CYB. If I play Sigil, what can new do to stop me? Nothing. She cannot banish Sigil to stop another Sigil. So we come here. Overall, like I said, the deck is pretty similar. Let's take it from the top. Everything is the same for equipment lineup except for Gauntlets of Iron Will. As I said before, Gauntlets of the Boreal Domain, the new legendary, helps in two ways. It helps you as an Earth card to decompose, and it helps you to hand filter. I looked at this list and said, I really don't need to decompose since this is my only block. My arm slot is my only block. I do not want to give it early to decompose. The conveniently decomposing slightly sooner is not worth me giving all of my fridge early. I'd rather just block. So take that part out of the equation. All it is a hand filter. Versus this says into new, this blocks for 3 and 2. All you have to do is say, oh, you have a card in hand, you're going to attack react. Okay. And it blocks for 3 and 2 for a total of 5. That's pretty big extra value, and the amount that the hand filter Boreal Domain comes up is so minuscule that I decided to run Iron Will over Boreal Domain. I think either one is truly fine. Again, this is a very, very minute, we're talking like 2-3 points of value difference over the whole game. So it's not going to be like a night and day difference. This is just, I wanted to pivot last minute so I can beat new, and this is the arm piece that beats new. And in fact, I did not get to play new at the 1K, but into the Jarl game that I lost, because there was another, or sorry, into the Victor game that I lost, because there was another Victor game that I did win. In the Victor game that I lost, he played CNC. And so I block with Iron Will, which is at 1, because I already had a -1 on it, and 6, so for a total of blocking 7 with the Iron Will, and he pummels it with like no hesitation. And I was like, okay, pop well grounded. Now I'm blocking 9, and the pummel was only +3, so I covered it all up. So gauntlets can be convenient, not just in new, but also in like CNC pummel and, you know, maybe like warrior. Like there are niche scenarios, but this is primarily just, I want 2 extra life in a new. If I'm doing all this stuff for life gain and where every point of life matters, 2 extra life does matter. That's it. That's the only real thought here. I think either arms will be fine in this list though. Moving on. The main thought process here is that Sigil adds up to 9. Polarity adds up to 12. That's 21. CYB, red and yellow, adds up to 30. So we're already down 9. But CYB costs 2. So let's say we're into Viscerai. Viscerai is the hardest, I think, of the aggro decks for me to play into. So how does this play out into Viscerai? Well, into Viscerai, let's say he's sending like a mountain of chance every turn. And so I'm pitching a blue to heal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm healing like 30 total. Versus, this is 9. This is 12. That's 21 total. And it's a 0 cost. So if I'm not paying 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2, that's 12 more. So now we're looking at 33 total value that I have, which you can then argue the nuance of like 33, 30, 27. Like these are all numbers. It's all theory and what happens in the actual game, not the same. But the point is they are similar. They work the same way. They do the same thing. This is actually less restrictive and more flexible. Maybe I don't need to pitch into chance. Maybe he didn't send chance. I can just block with the card I would have pitched anyway. So it does the same thing into Runeblades, where you heal a lot and you heal a lot, but this way it's more flexible. I can Sigil an Arsenal and you play CNC. Oh, that's cute. Play like it's so much more flexible while doing the same thing. What if they're not Runeblade? Well, this card only heals 4 if you've been dealt arcane damage. So if they're not Wizard and they're not Runeblade, card's dead. This will not do anything for me. Which is why Sigil is mainboard and Polarity is sideboard. So, how does this play out? Pretty similar, like I said. You'll notice that CNC and Plow Under are up to 3, Fate is up to 3. Otherwise, the red and blue lineup, or red and yellow lineup, looks very similar, basically the same. We have Sigil instead of CYB that opened up 3 more slots. Those 3 slots became number 3, number 3, and number 3. Otherwise, it's the same here. It's just blues and the sideboard that change now. Why Canopy Shelter? Card is decent. I do have more on hit, so it helps with CNC for 7, Felling for 9. Okay, you can even hammer for 7, Erase Face for 7. So like it's cute. I don't think it's bad by any means, but mainly this is just here as a blue that I can play in a new. A lot of the blues that I want to play, like Tome of Harvest or any attack card whatsoever, or Truce. Like there's a million blue cards that you just can't play in a new because you'll get punished for it. This, she cannot do anything with. I can still block a dagger with it. It's still a quote-unquote 3 value blue. So overall, this is just in here as a blue earth that works in a new. I think in a meta where new is gone already, I'll probably cut this card. But I don't think it's bad. I don't think you'd be like wrong to run it. It's just mainly here as an answer to her. CLF, CMI, Crumble, Frozen, Fruits, it's all here. Again, Fruits is mainly your out to poison, otherwise it's just more healing. And in this build, where you're default to 9 extra and not 30 extra, suddenly getting this 6 extra healing from the Fruits is more important. So you'll find yourself actually prioritizing that healing on Fruits more so in this build than the CYB build. I did drop Hypothermia into 2, I didn't feel like all 3 were needed, because into Aurora, I already have 4 blocks, 4 blocks, on hit. So like I have enough to deal with Aurora. I didn't think all 3 were needed. You could probably even cut it more. I truly wasn't sure. Again, I made this deck a week before the tournament. This was a last minute pivot. Imposing Impulse and Sow and Terror Sunder and Warmongers and Winter's Bite. Again, they're all the same as last build. This is basically the same main 60, just without CYB. It replaced yellow CYB with CNC, Fate, Plow, third copy, and the other 3 CYBs with Sigil. Cut down a couple blue attacks to add Canopy Shelter, turned Hypothermia, but it's the same build. So then let's look at the sideboard. Well, as we said, Arcane Polarity is for Wizards and Runeblades. I truly don't even care about Wizards. You'll see I dropped down to AB1 last minute. It is what it is. This is for Runeblades, so I can still have the CYB plan into Runeblade. The next problem that you'll then ask yourself is, okay, so we beat New. We beat Runeblade. Let's look up here. Oh shit, there's Dio and Zen. I know I didn't say Zen earlier at the top 5. I do think he's like number 6, but he's still like a top deck. Ninja is really popular in my area, so I knew that I would run into some Zens. So how do we beat Dio and Zen? We have the Sigil Polarity for Runeblades. We have everything for New. We're punting Enigma. Enigma is a lost cause. So what do we do against the 2 other like really respectable decks, Dio and Zen? And the main answer that I came to is that all you got. Not so much for Dio. I think Dio is kind of a free matchup. We have Erase Face. We have Hypothermia. We have so many things to stop Dio. I think Dio is like the freest matchup in the world for this deck. So how do we beat Zen? This is the card I came to. And honestly, this was put in first as an answer to New. Because again, I want to block those daggers. And the amount of times where they hit with a Mistblade and then go levels and just punish the hell out of me was so much that I said I need to block daggers more. And the answer to blocking those daggers is that all you got. Then I played into Zen and realized that all you got is also amazing into Zen because of his stick, because of all the Tigers for 1. Like, you never don't get to play this. So this card simultaneously helps the New matchup even more in a way that we can look at in a second, but also shores up the Zen matchup that you had kind of thrown by switching from CYB. So that all you got is like the last piece of the pie that brings it all together to be on par with the CYB build, if not better. It helps into New, it helps into Zen, and it just helps a lot in general. I did cut down to 1 Blizzard. Summer's Fall, I really wasn't sure. I was like a last minute hedge into Illusionist because there weren't any wizards in the room. I again think this should actually be to Staunch Response instead of Summer's Fall. It could really be whatever you personally want. I think these 3 slots are really up for grabs. It could be whatever you want. Whereas these 9 I think are pretty core. Like Arcane Polarity and That All You Got, I would never like run this deck without them. And then very lastly, let's talk about Stalagmite and Baby Hammer. The CYB list has Baby Hammer and Rampart. The Sigil list has Baby Hammer and Stalagmite. Why? The answer is into Dio, Viserai, Aurora, and Zen. Sorry, not Zen. Just Dio, Viserai, and Aurora. Just those 3. No one else in the game. Dio, Viserai, and Aurora will go so aggressive, I don't get to sing Hammer almost ever. And when I do, I don't care. They just go, ha, take 6, and the math doesn't matter. Hammer is not doing me anything in those 3 matchups. So we switched to a shield that does something. Previously, on CYB, I was running Rampart, because into Aurora, this lets you block the 4s super easy. Into Viserai, they're always breaking the chain. Into Dio, I point and laugh. And it works really well with CYB. We just pitch a blue, heal, block with Rampart. It comes up conveniently and a lot, so Rampart worked better in this build. When you're not on CYB, suddenly Rampart's really awkward again. The whole reason Rampart is a good legendary is when it pairs with something else. So Oldhim had Crown of Seeds to always pair it with. You don't really have anything in this deck to pair it with, so I swapped a Stalagmite. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Like, you don't really need a shield that much. It's just for a couple matchups. Into Aurora, I actually beat one without even blocking with Stalagmite at all. I just had it for when I needed it. So really, it's just there for like a Rampart that you don't have to pay into a couple times that maybe the Frostbite will matter. It's really not a big deal. Stalagmite, that they're pushing it a lot in Jarl, especially with Summit. I don't think it's that necessary, especially for this type of slow life game build in particular. But because of the cost curve of CYB and everything not being here, Stalagmite got chosen in this iteration. And that's pretty much it. That's Lifegain Jarl in a nutshell. That's the journey I've been on over the last month, trying to make this deck as competitive as possible. Going up and down with, oh man, Jarl was, they were too safe with it. He's not good enough. Okay, maybe I can actually get him there. How do we do it? I do think there's a whole, other thesis you could have on aggro, proactive Jarl with Frostfang, Icequake, Pummel. I think that list also works. In my opinion, there are two builds to Jarl. There's either aggro or defensive. You cannot mid-range. He is not made to mid-range right now. He just doesn't have it in him. If you want to play mid-range, please go play Florian. He's a lot of fun. He's awesome. He's the edgelord we all love in our hearts. But mid-range Jarl isn't it. You either got to go way to one end of the spectrum or way to the other. So this is my answer to going to the defensive end of the spectrum. It's Lifegain. We're here. We're about to have a long grind, and then I'm going to go Oaken, Terra Sunder, Oaken, Felling, Oaken, put Oaken back in, pitching. It's so fun late game. And I like the grind. I like the little decisions that you have to make constantly every turn of, do I value this card? It's like Flesh and Blood fundamentals on steroids. And I really think we got there. Obviously, Enigma is still a punt. It is what it is. You can lament that. You can just move on. It is what it is. I think this deck can beat anything not named Enigma. As I mentioned at the start, Victor is also a pretty tough matchup because what am I going to want to clash with? But I think on average you should win one clash, and then that should make it a game. I do think if they are lucky enough to win every single clash, it's really an uphill battle. They have a lot of go-again pressure, a lot of damage. But there are ways to play it out for sure. I wouldn't tech for it more than maybe turning these into staunch response. But yeah, so in summary, I really like this deck a lot. I had a ton of fun playing it. I really enjoyed having this competitive season to test the deck in. So thank you to everyone here in Colorado who sort of went along with these plans, who participated in the 1K that I hosted, who gave me a reason to do all this workshopping on Jarl. I had a great time. Thank you to Iron Lion Collectibles, my local store, my local game store and team sponsor, for having the Jarl decks ready and for giving me a spot to host this 1K and to practice and to have awesome armories every week. That's pretty much the deck. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, to DM me on Discord. Lastly, closing, I know that FaB Life is a little bugged on iPhone right now. Always is. I'm sorry, iPhone users. It's just the nature of the industry. I really struggled to develop on iPhone for a plethora of reasons. But rest assured that the current issue of the save settings being reset every time you open it will be fixed whenever the Hunted launches. So in about a month or so, whenever I'm able to have the Hunted update, that will be fixed. Hopefully it'll be sooner. Yeah. This is Jarl. This is Lifegain Jarl. I hope you have a great time. I hope you grind it out and play a million Okens and see the grins on your opponent's face sour into a frown. And I hope you have a great time along the way. If you have your own Jarl builds you've been working, please drop in the comments below as well. That'd be awesome. If you have aggro, any insights, something you think could be done better, man, I'd love to hear it. I'm here all day for all the Jarl insight. Hopefully he'll be good in the Hunted meta, but we'll see. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.